Okay.
Shall we start, sir?
Yeah.
Now we will start the today's afternoon session. Good afternoon to one and all present here. On behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering, Christian College of Engineering and Technology, Bhilai, I, CS Sahu, welcome you all in today's afternoon session of 1 week faculty development program on 3D printing and design, organized by Department of Mechanical Engineering, Christian College of Engineering and Technology, Bhilai, sponsored and funded by AICTE under AICTE Training and Learning Scheme. Today's invited speaker for this session is Dr. R.H. Gajghat from Christian College of Engineering and Technology, Bhilai, who has already joined with us. You are most welcome, sir. It's our honor and privilege to have Dr. R.H. Gajghat with us, who will deliver a talk on post-processing techniques in 3D printing. Now, I would like to give a brief introduction of our today's speaker for this session, Dr. Radheshyam H. Gajghat. He has obtained a BE degree in production engineering from Nagpur University in 1994, MTech in production engineering from Motilal Nehru National Institute of Technology, Allahabad in 2003, and PhD from RTM Nagpur University in 2019. Also, he has done diploma in business management from Nagpur University. Presently, he is working as a professor in mechanical engineering at Christian College of Engineering and Technology, Bhilai. He has more than 27 years of experience in teaching, industry and business, and 9 years of research experience. His area of interest are performance evaluation, mathematical model formulation, artificial neural network, optimization of manufacturing processes, and computer integrated manufacturing composites. He has published 15 papers in national and international journals and presented many more papers in international national conferences. He has the expertise in design of academic monitoring system and innovative teaching learning methodology. He has developed online ESPT software for engineering students to predict their probability of passing in university examination, which will help them to improve their performance in university exams. He has organized a number of FDPs, STTPs, webinars, and workshops sponsored by government funding agencies. He has also organized an international conference, ICRAMEN 2021, in association with IOP publication. He has delivered few lectures in FDPs and webinars. He has attended so many FDPs, workshops, webinars, and conferences. He has completed 2 research projects funded by CSVT Bhilai under TCube3. He is lifetime member of Association of Machines and Mechanisms. He has performed many responsibilities at department and institute level, such as HOD, academic coordinator, management representative for ISO certification committee, NBA coordinator, advisor of IE, student chapter, digital valuation center, superintendent, department library in charge, discipline committee in charge, lab coordinator, etc. He is an editor-in-chief of Journal of Publication and Industrial Engineering published by RAM Publishers, India, and a reviewer of many referred journals. Thank you, sir, for joining with us. Now, I would like to hand over this session to Dr. R.H. Gajghat, sir. Over to you, sir. Now you can share your slide also.
Thank you, Chandrasekhar sir, for a nice introduction. Now I will share my slide. Known as additive manufacturing preform fabrication, rapid prototyping. These names are used for 3D printing. Although there is a little bit difference between these names in 3D printing technically, but all these names are interchangeably used for 3D printing. As compared to other traditional manufacturing technologies, the surface quality of 3D printing parts are commonly lower because of the layer and layer processing and the staircase effect. So we know that 3D manufacturing process particularly used for complex shapes. Here you can see this is the CAD model which is drawn by using the CAD software. Then this CAD model is converted into this slicing. Means slicing is done on this CAD model. It is also done with the help of RP softwares. So this CAD model, 3D CAD model, is converted into a number of layers. Then this CAD model, after slicing, it is sent to the RP machine or 3D printing machine, and then the part is manufactured. So you can see here, this is the part which is manufactured by the. Okay. So in this diagram, in this figure, you can see these 3D models. First is the CAD model. After slicing, it will look like this. That CAD model is converted into a number of layers. And after manufacturing this CAD model by the 3D printing machine, and after when it will be seen under the microscope, it will look like this. So here you can see clearly the staircase effect. This surface looks like a stairs. So this is the drawback, main drawback of this 3D printing technology or technique, where we cannot get the good surface finish due to this staircase effect. This 3D printing technology is basically used for or best suited for the complex type of designs which having the free-form curves and features. The main problem of this technique is poor surface finish, which we have already discussed, and that is due to the staircase defect. Many researchers have done work to improve the surface finishing of 3D manufactured parts or A manufactured parts, and they have suggested some solution which are based on the process parameters. So first is the part orientation. We can change the direction of part. Then layer thickness of layer can be changed, which is very important because layer thickness is inversely proportional with the surface finishing. When the layers thickness is less, the surface finishing will be more. Then third one is the orientation of material depositions. At the time of manufacturing the 3D part, the direction of material deposition also affect the surface finishing. So this is also important factor. Here we are going to discuss this fourth one, that is the different post-processing techniques which are used to get the better surface finishing and to remove the other defects also. Then here we can see the surface roughness which are achieved by the different processes. Stereolithography, that is SLA, where we are using 0.10 minimum layer thickness, and there we get the surface roughness of 2 to 40 micrometer. In case of SLS, that is the selective laser sintering, minimum layer thickness is 0.125. Here we get the surface roughness up to 5 to 35 micrometer. In case of FDM, that is fused deposition modeling, where minimum layer thickness is 0.254. Here we get the surface roughness up to 9 to 40 micrometer. In case of laminated object manufacturing, LOM, where minimum layer thickness is 0.114, we get the RA value 6 to 27. In case of polyzetting process, where layer thickness is 0.10, we get the surface finishing in the range of 3 to 30 micrometer. So from here we can see that when wherever we are using the minimum layer thickness, we get the good surface finishing. There are some internal defects which we found in 3D printing parts. These are balling, porosity, cracks, powder agglomeration, thermal stress, etc. So we'll discuss one by one. It is the balling defect. Balling, it is a defect that can occur when the molten pool created during selective laser melting becomes discontinuous and breaks into separated islands. When we made the part by using the selective laser melting, these types of valleys and peaks are formed there. These are the discontinuous parts, and this looks like balls. When we see its surface under the microscope, these peaks will look like a ball. That's why it is known as the balling effect. Then porosity, we know that porosity that is occurred due to the void present in between the metal particles, cracks. Then next is the powder agglomeration. This powder agglomeration, it is nothing but the powder compact with non-uniform particle packing. So that is also the one of the defect which result in defective ceramics with exaggerated grain growth, porous structure, warpage, or even flaws and cracks. Then next one is the thermal stress, which occur due to the non-uniform, that is the high temperature ingredient. Post-processing operations are usually required to improve the mechanical properties and surface quality, achieving their intended utilization. Because the main problem in the 3D parts or M parts is the surface quality and some mechanical properties which we require to improve. Then there are two main challenges to get the product in its ready to use form. The first challenge is all these tasks which are related with the post-processing processes are carried out manually, and it take nearby 60% of the manufacturing cost, because these processes are carried out manually. So its cost is much more, and that is about 60% of manufacturing cost. So here we have to reduce this cost by automating the post-processing task. Second main challenge is it requires the support structure. For those parts which are overhang, and these supports must be removed after production. So on an average of removal processes and surface finishing, it takes about 75% of post-processing work. And this is also time consuming, and it produces inconsistent result and too costly. So here the main two challenges. First was the manually, means these processes are carried out manually. Second is we have to remove the support structures. So the main how we have to face these challenges. So the best way is to carry out post-processing operations by making the processes automated. Then post-processing means what? As the name is given, these processes are performing at the end of the manufacturing processes. That's why these are known as the post-processing processes. It covers the variety of stages that 3D printed parts have to undergo before being used for the final purpose. The main goal is to remove the undesired properties that have been built in final product during the additive manufacturing processes. So this is the main goal of post-processing processes. There are number of post-processing processes such as heat treatment, UV curing, support removal, cleaning and depowdering, machining, coating or infiltration, surface finish processes, inspection and dyeing. But it is not limited to these processes only. There are such other processes also which can be included in this list. That is the better aesthetics look, geometric accuracy, mechanical functionalities and properties, desired surface characteristics, etc. So these also can be added in the post-processing operations. There are various post-processing steps are given: heat treatment, UV curing, support removal, cleaning and depowdering, surface finish processes, machining, coating or infiltration, dyeing, inspection, etc. Now we'll discuss one by one. So heat treatment, actually the geometry of the these parts, 3D parts, are very complicated because particularly this process is used for making the complex shape. So there is the parts thickness. There is too much variation in the part thickness. That's why we have to carry out the heat treatment very precisely to get the uniform property. So precise temperature uniformity is very important here. And to avoid major distortion, these parts are usually stress relieved together with the build platform and heat treated after being cut off from the build platform. Build platform means where these products are manufactured, on the platform where these products are made or manufactured. So initially that is stress relieving is carried out with this platform, and after that that is cut off from the build platform and then it is heat treated. The benefit of heat treatment lies in the ability to reduce surface contamination and to maximize mechanical properties. Second is the UV curing. The post-processing step is usually compatible with components that have been produced with photopolymerization processes and resins. Here the components are exposed to UV light, ultraviolet light, to fully cure to improve the physical quality of the part. And it also enhances the aesthetic characteristic of the part. Then third one is support removal. So support removal is also very necessary. These parts have been produced with resin or filament 3D printing technologies. This support removal can be made from soluble or insoluble materials. If it is soluble material, then it is very easy to remove. It can be dissolved by using the water or any chemical. But if it is insoluble, then several accessories are required by which we cut that part from the basic part. You can see here support removal. The first part is showing here with the support, and another part it is showing without support. Means this support is removed from here, and it looks soluble support. So it is easily removed from this basic part or main component. Then next, fourth one is the cleaning and depowdering. The term depowdering is oftenly used interchangeably with cleaning, but there is a little difference. Depowdering means already their word is used powder. So it is particularly used for the parts which are made from the powders. Cleaning can refer to the ability to remove support structures from for FDM resin or material jetting technologies. And as I told, depowdering can refer to the ability to remove residues of powder that remain in AM parts. Depowdering will require, because here we have to remove the powder, residues of powder, so it will require brush and vacuum cleaner. There are some companies such as Additive Manufacturing Technologies (AMT) and Solucon, which provide the automated solution for this post-processing step and other also. There are also other companies which provide post-processing solution, because manual processes are very costly. That's why there are so many companies, emerging companies or technologies are there, so which are used for particularly post-processing processes. Next one is the surface finish process. This include blasting and finishing systems. So initial surface of 3D printed parts are initially these are quite rough, and it having the RA value up to 1000 micro inches. And blasting process allow to reduce sorry this RA value up to or less than 20 micro inches. Here we are using the blasting material as the media. Blasting material is particularly that material which is to it is just like an abrasive material, and it is propelled against the surface by using the medium that is the surface pressurized fluid. It may be usually water. Sometimes we use vapor steams, compressed airs by the centrifugal wheel. So this blasting material, when we use with the water or steam, and it is when strike on the surface with the very high force, and it having abrasive particles, so that particle due to that abrasive particle and high speed of the abrasive particle, the material is get finished, means get clean, and it achieve the good surface finish. Fine surface finishes with RA values up to or less than 5 microinches are achieved with the help of one patented technology that is known as the dry electropolishing technology by AMT, which I have discussed earlier. This is a company which is provide the solution for this surface finishing. Automated finishing techniques and vibratory ball abrasion finishing. Automated finishing techniques are vibratory ball abrasion finishing and ultrasonic abrasion finishing. So out of these two techniques, vibratory abrasive finishing process have achieved a good surface finish, and its improvement is showing about 74%. Means initially, if we take RA value up to 5.71 micrometer, so after processing we'll get up to 1.68 micrometer. So it is a very good value. It is improving the surface finishing very good. Next is the machining. So some parts may require additional machining to remove the further support structures. So some big parts which having a big support system there, support part. So these parts are removed by the machining also. It is required particularly for metal processes that do not deliver geometry close to the final contour. Then next is the coating or infiltration. Coating, it consists of infiltration of microporous component with polymers. So here we are using the polymer, and with the help of polymers we fill the small holes which are present on the surface of the 3D printed parts. The goal of this activity is to produce components that are completely gas tight or liquid tight, because due to the use of polymers, that surface having very good surface finishing, and that's why we can use for this purpose also. Then next one is the dyeing. If the visual appearance of the powder based polymer parts need to be improved, then you probably need a dyeing post processing step. It is similar to the dyeing of the cloth dyeing, you know. So it is also carried out similarly for the 3D printed parts. For this we can use automated dyeing equipment also. Then last one, that is the inspection. Inspection means it is nothing but the validation of parts dimensional accuracy and mechanical properties. Because after manufacturing any part, it is very important to check whether it achieved the dimensional accuracy and required mechanical properties. So to check the dimensional accuracy, we can use CMM, that is the coordinate measuring machine. So it will ensure the part dimensions within the tolerance and align with measurements provided in the original drawing. Then for mechanical properties, we can use the different testing which are used for the testing the materials. Then there are some processes which are widely used in as a post-processing techniques. The thermal post-processing, second is the laser pinning, next is laser polishing, last one is the machining and abrasive finishing. Thermal post-processing, in thermal post-processing method, for the 3D printing parts can be significantly lessen residual stresses, reduce cracking, and homogenize the microstructure. So there are three treatments. Heat treatments are suggested here. That is the solution heat treatment, SST, hot isostatic pressing, that is HIP, and T6 heat treatment. This is used for particularly aluminum, silicon, 10 magnesium parts, and we have seen that it improves the part quality significantly. In solution heat treatment process, the metal part is heated above the solvent temperature of the hardening participants. It is heated up to the solvent temperature and held at that temperature until the alloying elements are fully taken into the solid solution to obtain the homogeneous solution. So it is heated up to the or above the solvent temperature and held at that temperature until and unless alloying elements are fully taken into the solid solution. Here we can see here how it is effective to improve the surface finishing or the structure. In the first, it is the schematic diagram showing the microstructure evolution for the material. This is the picture that is in A. It is the beginning of the SST process. It is the intermediate diagram, and it is showing the after completion of the or finishing of the SST. So here you can see here in the last diagram you can see the single phase. These inclusions are reduced to a very small size, and due to which the surface finishing is improved a lot. In case of hot isostatic pressing, that is HIP, it is frequently used thermomechanical treatment. Means here high temperature is combined with the high pressure. So here usually the temperature reaches to 1000 to 2000 degrees centigrade, and pressure is used here 2000 megapascal. So here what we do, that manufactured part is kept in a container and it is pressed evenly in all directions with high temperature and pressure. How much temperature? Up to 1000 to 2000 degrees centigrade, and pressure up to 200 megapascal. And due to the similar pressure from all the directions and temperature, these parts which is manufactured previously by using the 3D technique or AM technique, now that parts have the high density, good uniformity and excellent performance due to this HIP process. HIP has the characteristic of short production time, production cycle, because it is a very simple process. Just we have to use this temperature which is given here and pressure, and we have to press that part into a container, and we have to apply that pressure and temperature. So it is having the very short cycle, low energy consumption, and maximizing material utilization, because there is no wastage of material. By improving material properties and allowing for smaller, lighter weight and high strength parts. Here we can see the microscopic structure of this is the before HIP, and it is after HIP treatment. So we can see the between these two diagrams. Then next one is the T6 heat treatment. It is the two-phase process, and it is particularly applied for aluminum, copper, and silicon alloys, which increase the strength of this alloy up to 30%. So first phase is quenching, and second phase is aging. So in the quenching phase, the alloy is heated up to 500 degrees centigrade for 9 to 10 hours. And due to which copper is dissolved in aluminum and form a single phase alloy. This is achieved by cooling the alloy rapidly with water, because this is the quenching process. So cooling should be cooling can be done rapidly, which supersaturates the aluminum with copper. In second phase, that is the aging phase, the alloy is heated up to 180 degrees centigrade for 9 to 10 hours. And then it is cooled by air. In the previous case, it was cooled by using the water. But in case of aging phase, that part is cooled by the air. This forms copper aluminum crystalline structures, and the size of which will dictate the strength. In general, the smaller the crystals, the stronger the alloy becomes. So in this way, we can improve the surface finishing by using the thermal post-processing. Also, we can improve the mechanical properties also. For both the purpose it is applied. Next one is the laser pinning. Laser pinning, it is a process of plastic compression of material perpendicular to the surface, resulting in lateral expansions. When laser pinning is performed on thick or constant parts, the ability to resist transverse strain lead to the accumulation of local compressive stresses. Here you can see the schematic diagram of the laser pinning process. The laser inputs are shown here in the downward direction. There is the tamping water. So due to this pressure or force, the compressive stress you can see here, reactive to transverse volume expansion. It will try to compress on both the sides and restrict to the transverse volume expansion. So due to which the compactness of this material will increase. Here you can see the setup of this pinning, shock pinning process. It is a very simple setup. Here is a laser system. These laser rays will strike on prismatic mirror and it will change the direction. There is the focusing lens which will converge the these rays, laser rays, and it will strike on this sample. And there is above a water layer is there, and after that it will do the this process which is shown here. Then the laser pinning is widely utilized to improve the fatigue life of compressor blades and jet engine fans. Most recently in nuclear spent fuel storage tanks and aircraft structures, there also it is applied. This technology has been applied to improve the surface properties of processed maraging steels, as well as bend and stretch the thick sections of aircraft fenders to provide accurate aerodynamic models. The short intense laser pulse generate plasma in the confined geometry and thereby produces pressure pulses, which causes local plastic deformations. The generated pressure can be increased by using a water compactor, thus making the process more effective. So that's why that water is used above the surface. Here you can see the schematic diagram of micrographs. A is showing the untreated surface and this B is showing the treated surface. So you can see change in these two surfaces. So it is improving the surface finishing. Then laser polishing. It is an automated process that changes surface morphology by remelting without changing or affecting the bulk properties. See, it is nothing but the remelting of the surface material. Surface material is remelted by using the laser beams. This is considered a potential method to improve the surface roughness of 3D parts. During this laser polishing, the morphology apex can reach the melting temperature rapidly when the energy source irradiates the material surface, and the liquid material redistribute to the same level after molten pool formation because of the effect of gravity and surface tension. So because here that the material at the surface is melted very rapidly due to the high temperature of laser beam, and that molten metal is quickly spread over that surface due to the gravity and surface tension effect. And once that laser beam stops scanning the surface, the temperature of this heat affected zone drops rapidly and resulting in solidification of the molten pool. So here we melt the surface material very quickly and then we stop the laser beam. That molten metal above the surface is spread very fast on that surface due to the gravity and surface tension, and after stopping the laser beam, that will be solidified, and in this way we get the good surface finishing, or it will reduce the surface roughness. Laser polishing reduces roughness value from 0.4 micrometer to 0.12 micrometer. So it is also giving a very good RA value. The hardness of a laser polishing process surface is slightly higher and more uniform than other surfaces. Little bit hardness of this laser polish process surface is increased here, but there are no cracks or heat affected zone. That is the advantages. Here you can see the effect of this laser polishing on the surface. In A, laser polish region of the laser AM surface is showing, and in B it is showing under the microscope. ACM micrograph is showing here, and you can see clearly the difference between these two surfaces before this laser polishing and after laser polishing. The next is machining and abrasive finishing. Machining and abrasive finishings, these are the conventional machining techniques which are used to improve the form, accuracy and surface finish of functional parts. These are the most commonly used post-processing methods for their due to their high maturity and good accessibility. CNC milling machine can reduce the RA value from 22.78 micrometer to 0.6 micrometer. So if we are using CNC milling for this post-processing purpose, so it is also reducing the RA value in good amount, 22.78 to 0.6 micrometer, means it is a very good result. A reflective surface with roughness as low as 5.1 nanometer is achieved by the combination of the optimized printing parameters and ultrasonic elliptical vibration assisted machining. So if we are using these two, means ultrasonic elliptical vibration assisted machining and with the optimized printing parameters. So we have to optimize the printing parameters also. And in this way, if we produce the parts, then we will get the value of RA up to 5.1 nanometer. The conventional diamond turning can only obtain a surface roughness up to 10.2 nanometer. So it is better than this dimensional turning also. Here we are getting 5.1 nanometer, and in the conventional diamond turning we get 10.2 nanometer. So it is shown here in the picture A. It is the surface quality of SLM AD aluminum silicon magnesium 0.75 alloy after using the conventional diamond turning. So here you will get RA value of 10.20. You can see in the third column, surface roughness column. Here in the middle column, surface morphology is shown. If you are using B method, that is the ultrasonic elliptical vibration assisted machining. So here you can achieve RA value up to 5.10 nanometer. So it is just half of this which we achieved by the using the diamond turning. Then abrasive finishing. Here magnetic abrasive finishing is used to polish the SLM AD316L stainless steel surface generated by various building angles. The surface finishing which we get here, improvement get here, is up to 75.7%. And all the surface defects, that is unmelted particles and balling effects, are removed here. Means these these defects are also can be removed by using the abrasive finishing. And here improvement is very high, 75.7%. The author of this research found the microblasting is a suitable post-processing method to remove the partially bonded particles on the fragile lattice structure. However, the process parameters should be well selected to prevent structure damage. So here we have to take care of while selecting the process parameters. Otherwise, it will damage the structure. So microblasting is also beneficial here. Here you can see the microblasting of this SLM-AD tubular lattice structure. You can see the setup in figure A. Here you can see the nozzle. It is showing the gap. This is the ceramics which is used for this purpose. Here is the motor. Here we are using the fixture, and it is the workpiece. So blasting, we have discussed earlier that here we are using the abrasive material as the media, and medium we can use any fluid such as water or any other, or also we can use the steam also. So this blasting is happen here at the micro level. So that's why it is called as the microblasting. So here you can see these two pictures, B and C. So in B, lattice structure before microblasting, you can see, and in the C, it is showing after blasting. So there is lot of change in the surface of these two figures, and here all the parameters, microblasting parameters are given here: nozzle diameter, ceramic ball diameter, rotation speed, linear slide velocity, etc. So here only we have to take the precaution while selecting these parameters so that we can get the good surface finishing. Then there is one investigator Wang and others. They have investigated the effect of ultrasonic abrasive polishing on the surface of 3D printed parts. They have seen the impact action of abrasive particles was simulated with the smooth particle hydrodynamics methodology, and the result was here they got the very good result. The ultrasonic laser polishing can effectively remove the partially melted structure which were present on the surface of the these 3D printing parts, and the roughness is decreased from 5.0 to micrometer to 2.93 micrometer. Then some of these procedures still require manual operation where skilled operators are necessary for key tasks. Because without manual operation, all the post-processing operations cannot be performed. So it will, and if these operations are performed manually, then we will require the skilled operators. It may be cost effective to complete the prototype or even dozens of parts manually. If the number of parts are less, it may be in dozens, then it is cost effective. But if we are using the same process for hundreds or even thousands of parts, then we will require the automation, because for larger number of parts, this process will not be cost effective. So nowadays, the more focus is given on the automation of post-processing operations or techniques. So it is what it is just about the post-processing techniques which were used in 3D printings. So if you have any doubt, you can ask. It was just a study of all.
Thank you very much, sir, for sparing your precious time and sparing and sharing your knowledge and experience with us. You have very well explained the different aspects of post-processing technique in 3D printing. Your session was very interesting and informative. I am sure that all the participants would have been benefited by this session. Also, I would like to thanks all the participants for joining and attending the whole session with lot of patience. Thank you all again. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.